afternoon, good evening, you wonderful dice of all lines. I am Lunar D8. This is part 1 of NECRONS. This is a Warhammer 40k supplemental book. It is about the faction known as the NECRONS. This video we posted in the Let's Play Vector Man playlist, because I feel Vector Man kind of looks like a Necron. So, anyway. By the way, I'll handle that next time. Okay. Right now I'm mainly just reading 4 different Warhammer books on Necrons will be Vector Man playlists, the Drukhari and the Let's Play of Hades, the Core Rule book is in the Super Meat Boy playlist, and Chaos Demons is actually its own playlist. First one I started trying to read. But yeah, this is the Necrons. Necrons. Eons. Say fucking eons. Eons have they slumbered while stars have wheeled through the heavens. Empires have risen and fallen to dust. Yet all things have their time. Amidst the flames and madness of the galaxy's death throes, so theirs has come again. Introduction. Welcome, mighty Baron. The tome you now hold contains all you need to know in order to command your deathless android legions. Within its pages you will find the history of the Necron race, details of how their dynastic armies array themselves for battle, examples of their ancient heroic glyphs, and all the rules you need to conquer the lesser races once and for all. The Necrons are amongst the most ancient and powerful races in the galaxy. Armored bodies of living metal, they advance inexorably, lockstep upon their terrified foes. Their weapons unleash fundamental energies of the cosmos. Even as flickering portals beam Necrons into battle from across impossible interstellar gulfs. Shattered shards of insane star god warp reality itself to annihilate the enemy. Even as the deranged nobles command mighty war engines to eradicate their victims wholesale. Terrible monstrous beings with bladed limbs, glowing eyes stalk their victims from the shadows, attacking in sudden explosions and insane butchery. As the Necrons' archaeotechnological tomb cities rise up from below, and their eerie invasion fleets sweep down from the skies, their enemies feel their icy grip of terror clutch their hearts. Surely their doom is upon them. Collecting a Necron army for the Warhammer 40k battles puts all this eldritch might at your disposal. The Necrons offer a great many advantages, whether you are a brand new collector or a seasoned veteran of tabletop warfare. Necron forces are tremendously resilient, able to soak up punishment that would leave many armies in tatters. In return, they level spectacularly fusillades at their enemies. Their salvos of Gauss energy that can atomize infantry and armor alike to beams of starfire, crackling webs of living lightning, lethal blasts of force, and weaponized time itself, with teleportation technologies and war engines that give them a potent turn of speed, an array of specialist units that fill almost every strategic niche, and mighty combatants capable of besting the galaxy's greatest warriors in battle. The Necrons are truly a faction to be reckoned with. They are also a fantastic army for collectors and painters. With their artificial bodies bearing clear details, these models can be made battle-ready with incredible speed and ease, and still look striking when gathered together on the tabletop. Alternatively, those who wish can lavish hours of skill and attention on picking out every intricate feature of the Necron's android forms, and in order to bring to life some of the most eerie, menacing, and evocative looking models in the Warhammer 40,000 galaxy. In the pages that follow, you will find a wealth of background detail about the Necron race, their history, dynasties, and conflicts. You will also find full rules for amassing your own mighty legions, as well as a fantastic array of inspirational art and photography, representing the Necron race in all of its insane grandeur and timeless, pitiless horror. To face the Necrons in battle is to stand against death incarnate. It is to know the terror of annihilation at the hands of beings who should be long rotted in their graves. The Necrons' enemies see implacable android remnants rise from their crypts and step from the midst flickering witch lights to destroy all before them. In return, the Necrons see only vermin, interlopers, and savages that must be eradicated in order for their mighty dynasties of old to rise again. Once 60 million years ago, the Necrons' armies might have achieved their galactic conquest with singular efficiency. Yet, eons of slumber and cold stasis have seen madness creep into the minds of their noble masters, as the stately dance of the stars themselves has scattered and ravaged their worlds. What arises now to reclaim the galaxy is an altogether more twisted race, scattered, factionalized, and riven by an insanity that has transformed many of their number into walking nightmares. The Necrons of the 41st millennium are a dark reflection of their faded glories, yet they are no less deadly for all this. In monstrosity and madness, the Necrons are rendered more terrible than ever before. In search of immortality, the Necrons are feared across the Imperium and beyond as a race of seemingly immortal android warriors. Dark rumors circulate of ancient tomb complexes rising from beneath the surfaces of settled worlds, of ominous invasion fleets sweeping down from on high, and inexorable armies crushing all beneath their metallic tread. Yet the Necrons were not always thus. Most of the galaxy's sentient races know the Necrons only as the terrifying beings they are now. Indeed, it took the Imperium of mankind many centuries even to recognize them as a coherent Xeno race. The Necrons' ruling nobility were clearly seen to be sentient and ferociously intelligent. However, few amongst them have made any efforts to elaborate upon their origins or motivations to what they consider to be the lesser races. They have simply exterminated them. Yet hints exist even now in deeply buried xenoarchaeological remnants, in the long memories and hidden lore of the Eldari, and in the commonalities of the primitive artwork and tribal mythologies of a race very different to the Necrons, known and feared in the 41st millennium. The War in Heaven. Once the legends suggest the Necrons were a flesh and blood race, known as the Necrontier. Short-lived and warlike, these beings were obsessed with death, and for all their wondrous technology and star-spanning empire, were in fact quarrelsome and fractious. Legends tell the desperate to unite their people, the Necrons, rulers began a war with the beings known as the Old Ones. It was a war over the secrets of immortality, and also a war that the Necrontier could never win. If cogent details of the War in Heaven still exist, they do so only in the memories of the Necrons themselves. However, Eldari lore suggests that the Old Ones were the creators of the webway, the arterial network of ethereal tunnels that span the interstices between the warp and real space. Using the webway, the Old Ones drove the Necrontier back on every front. It was the Necron's darkest hour. During the reign of Sarek, last one of the silent kings of Athakatan, those called how do you fucking pronounce that? Came before the Necrons with an offer of aid. The legends speak of ancient star gods being formed from the fundamental energies of the universe, who offered Zarkek and his people all they had ever desired, power and immortality. All it would cost for the Necrontyr to ally themselves to Cetan, to destroy the hated Old Ones forever. Zartek deliberated long, but in the end he accepted the offer. In so doing, he damned his entire race. Fragments of lore describe what followed. The nightmare process of biotransference that placed the minds of the Necrontyr to living metal bodies that transformed them into the Necrons. The price was their souls, devoured by the leering Satan, and for all but those ruling castes, the obliteration of almost all personality and free will. No more were the Necrons war and politic with one another, for their wills were bound to Zartek's control through cast iron command and protocols, yet the cost of the unity had been monstrous indeed. The legends continued, scattered fragments telling of the defeat of the Old Ones, and of how, in the moment when the Cetan were at their weakest following the Titanic conflict, the Necrons took their revenge and shattered the duplicitous star gods. They described how Zartek saw that his people's time was done, for they could not face the Old One's vengeful servants. The Eldari chief amongst them. It is said that the Silent King commanded his people to inter themselves within stasis crypts of their tomb cities, there to sleep out eons until they could rise again and conquer all. Finally destroy his command protocols and freeing his race, Zartek took his ship into the intergalactic void to seek whatever solace he might amongst the empty darkness. The Awakening. The Necrons have slept for 60 million years. If the Aldari book of Mournful Night is to be believed, now they are walking at last, rising up to take what was once theirs, and the galaxy trembles before them. The technologies that facilitated the Great Sleep were so far beyond human comprehension that they might as well have been sorcery, hyper-intelligent master programs, and legions of canoptic slave constructs watch over the Necron tombs as ages crept past. Despite all this, manifold disasters beset the slumbering Xenos. Some tomb worlds were plundered by lesser races, or purposely purged by the vengeful Eldari. Others faced cascade failures in their stasis crypts and were obliterated by stellar catastrophe or comet strike, or endured such violent tectonic shifts that entire tombs were flooded with molten lava. Even those worlds that survived ended up far from their original positions, scattering the dynastic territories of old and leaving the Necrons fragmented and factionalized. The chronostats of the tomb worlds slipped due to mechanical failure and empiric distortion. Thus, rather rising up as one across the galaxy, the Necrons have awoken piecemeal. Some have emerged from stasis during the days of the Emperor's Great Crusade, while many others slumber still. Nor have the Necrons themselves come through the process unchanged. Corruption has crept into the minds of many, either during the past ages or whilst enduring the slow and unsettling process of revivification. Nihilistic madness or mindless stupor claims some, while the personality engrams of others have been distorted by countless subtle derangements. So ancient are these beings that even our sanctified cogitors cannot comprehend the span of their existence. Imagine what secrets might extract from the minds of such timeless creatures. all this, many billions of Necrons have already awoken, and trillions more stir. Their noble leaders might, in many cases, be mad, but they have lost none of their arrogant sense of superiority, nor their desire for conquest. Every overlord and baron has their own agenda, be it to stockpile or fortify, to raid and destabilize, to send forth imperious envoys, or to begin omnicidal purges of non-Necron life. To other races, the Necrons' behavior seems random to the point of insanity, yet in truth most are working toward the same core goals: reconquer the stars they once ruled, and restore to glory whichever dynasty they once belonged to. 1,000 empires. Most Necron nobles are still traditionalists, cleaving to ancient social and martial forms. They impose rigid hierarchies on their underlings, and order and deploy their legions in accordance with, or defiance of, the codes of the Triarch that once governed them. Most importantly, they still fight for their ancient dynasties: Soctek, Mefrit, Nikolak, and Agbatok. All things I can't pronounce correctly, but are probably just names that they made up out of bullshit. They I'm trying to play Scrabble, but I can't make a fucking real word, so I'll just make whatever random bullshit this is. These and the countless other dynasties make up splintered Necron race. All are technically united in subservience to the rule of the Silent King. In truth, many of them believe themselves as far above their rival dynasties as all the Necrons' nobles believe their species above the lesser races. Dynasties are as likely to fall into conflict as to ally. Countless smaller dynasties have been subsumed in the territories of larger and more powerful conquerors. For all this, more Necrons awaken all the time. As their numbers grow, so too do the dire threats they pose to the galaxy. Now Sarkak, last of the Silent Kings, has returned, and seeks to unite his people in galactic conquest again. Whispers precede him of a diabolical plan to negate the galaxy's threat of chaos and subjugate the lesser races once and for all. With his enemies locked in a war of mutual annihilation, and more Necrons rallying to his banner by the day, it may be already too late for any to stop him. The Triarch. From their earliest days, the rulers of the individual Necrontier dynasties were said to have been governed by the Triarch, a council of the three Pharaohs. The head of the Triarch was known as the Silent King, addressing his subjects only through the other Pharaohs, who counseled him and ruled at his side. It was the Triarch who set the codes by which the dynasties were expected to conduct their political and military endeavors. However, it was their Triarch's Praetorians who were charged with enforcing those codes and ensuring the continuation of the dynasties and the Necrontier Empire itself. By the cataclysmic end of the war in heaven, the Praetorians judged themselves to have failed in this duty. It is for this reason that they eschewed the Great Sleep, instead returning into the shadows to preserve what they could of the Necrons' lore and culture, watching over the slumbering tomb worlds until the day their people would rise up again. We'll call that a video. I hope all of you had a wonderful, wonderful